This is the cost of living.
In 2022, Putin invaded Ukraine, and a lot of you motherfuckers jumped on the idea that this was some megalomaniac trying to recreate the Soviet Union.
Like he was Dr. Evil or some shit.
Partly because Putin does look kind of Bond villainy, but partly because of our governments and Western media were so happy
To ignore the obvious reason and instead pump columns and segments like, oh, he's saying they're drug-addled Nazis running the country. And Putin's dying. Or what does Putin want, though?
The real reason was obvious. Ukraine has a shit ton of natural resources, and Russia either wants them or doesn't want to have to compete with them.
You see, that's Russia's wheelhouse. They extract, process, package and sell gas.
And as Ukraine was speaking to NATO and the EU about possible membership, the idea they might set up shop, sell and compete with Russia in a European market was a threat to Russian interests.
It's like your mum seeing your dad's got a new 23-year-old secretary that ticks all the wrong boxes.
You know, she's young and hot, big boobs, absent father.
Your dad calls like, I think I'm going to spend more time mentoring Tiffany after work tonight.
And your mum's like, oh, no, this will not do at all.
Clumsy metaphors be damned. Putin is your mum.
Anyway, the cost of gas had already been going up because parts of India and China were slowly starting to come online, but also in the pandemic, as services started to wind down, it takes a while to wind that shit back up again.
Energy became more and more expensive, not helped by the UK closing our storage facilities and sluggish investment in nuclear and renewables.
Like it's not even funny. We are so shit in this country.
How dare you? This country's marvellous. Everything will be fine. Like it always is. This is Britain.
And yet, it never is it? Whether it's a COVID death rate, Brexit, energy supplies.
The dismissive scoffing from flag fuckers always seems to end up as expensive idiocy we all have to pay for.
Why? Why do you hate Britain?
Right, yeah. How come it's always the patriots that end up making you ashamed of your country?
Anyway, and so because everyone and every business use energy, they're having to raise their prices to foot the bills.
That's why everything from milk, eggs, beers, packs of tissues that you seem to get through way quicker since your son turned 13.
All of the stuff and things and shit that you buy will now cost more, and that's on top of your own energy bills.
Now, is there any way we could have escaped this?
Bing! Yes, for 200 points and a lick of the bollies, the Tories could have price-capped energy, which would have kept bills low, which would have stopped things exploding, but... oh, fuck. Come back for part 2.
This is the cost of living crisis part 2.
So the Tories could have capped energy, which would have kept inflation low, but that would have meant the state restricting private companies.
And they're Tories, right? Their whole thing is keep the state out of your business.
It's not the state's job to interfere with your private business.
Unless you're a 16-year-old deciding that you were born in the wrong body and you're not comfortable with the genitals you were assigned at birth, and then it's...
Is it the state's job to interfere with my private business?
Yeah. No, this feels like something we should step in on.
like, oh, now you step in? Oh, well, thank God.
I mean, here I was laying awake at night worrying about a £400 gas bill, but at least I could take some solace in the fact that you're looking out for, no, not 40 million people being propelled into fuel poverty.
No, just whether this group of people can have their own sense of genitalial dignity. Thank God you were here.
So energy companies weren't capped and prices soared.
Boy, hang about. They were capped.
Well, okay, yeah. Officially, there was a price cap. But it's not a price cap if it just keeps going up, is it? That's not a price cap. That's just the new price.
The government could have also taken this time as a moment of clarity, a prism through which to view the pros and cons of privatisation.
Like, is it really in the economy's interest to privatise electricity?
If ultimately, sooner or later, where you end up is a country that's been money-shotted with risk, poverty and blackouts.
They could have said, OK, guys, look, we tried selling off utilities. We said that we would encourage competition, but it doesn't work.
And now to stop the economy from enveloping, we're having to credit people's accounts with magic money.
Because it's like £400 per household throughout the United Kingdom. It's costing us something like 23 billion and then another 13 billion the 6 months after that. Like, for that money, you could literally buy the energy companies.
Bulb Energy, for example, which collapsed last year, was swallowed up by Octopus Energy in a deal worth around $4.5 billion. So inquiring minds might wonder, why are we funneling $36 billion of taxpayers' money to energy firms in the form of, we'll help you with your energy bills, Mavis, when they could properly price cap the firms, and if they can't afford to take the hit, we buy them out, nationalise them, and keep costs low. But the answer to that is, the guy that sends you your bill, well, his boss's boss's boss probably donated to the Conservative Party. Or plays golf with one of them. Or went to school with him. Anyway, so your energy bills shot up, which caused everything to get more expensive. And now, here's where it gets funky. That shit is called inflation. And traditionally, to get it down, the Bank of England would make borrowing money very expensive. Are you sticking around for part 3?
This is the cost of living part 3.
Where are we now? Inflation. Everything is getting more expensive because gas and electricity has doubled in price and every single business on the high street has to pay for gas and electricity.
By the end of last summer, inflation was basically your mum at the end of Glastonbury 2022. The highest it had been for 40 years.
Now, never one that wants to feel left out, the Bank of England were like,
Barnaby, you see this? Food, materials, petrol, everything's getting more expensive. It's a bloody cost of living crisis. You know what we should do?
We could make borrowing cheaper, balance it out a bit so people don't end up living on the street.
God, Barnaby, what the fuck are you talking about? No. We're obviously missing out. We should double mortgages.
So they hiked interest rates. And then they did it again. And then again. In fact, they did it 10 fucking times.
Unsurprisingly, with the cost of a 3-bed house being 10 times the average UK salary in London and the South East, mortgage approvals have plummeted.
So we're now in a situation where millions of families who were previously paying about £950 a month for their mortgage
will shortly, on renewing the mortgage, be paying £2,000 a month. And since so many landlords have mortgages on their properties, then it's not just homeowners. Indeed, rents are shooting up faster than your mum on the 3rd day of Glastonbury. Okay, I've got to stop that shit.
Now, I know this seems dark and depressing and infuriating when it's contextualised against the backdrop of companies like Shell, who have made their largest profits in about 70 years, $33 billion.
While regular people are literally freezing to death.
But there are still ways that we can fix... What?
Well, go on then, say it. You're going to say it, aren't you?
We could get the Tories out.
Fucking knew it.
But we could also push for a meaningful price cap and renationalisation of all utilities, maybe some sort of mortgage price cap, so the high street banks have to take most of the hit of these spiking interest rates. I mean, why they're even doing this is beyond me.
Like it's a cost of living crisis. Everything's already too expensive. Everyone is already broke. And your solution to that is to carpet bomb them with hiked up mortgages and rents and shit.
I mean, that is really fighting fire with fire, I'll give you that.
I'm told the idea is that when things get very expensive, they make mortgages very expensive so you don't then have the money to spend on these other things, and the prices of these other things then is forced to come down.
That is not going to happen with the root of this inflation, i.e. natural gas.
Because if the UK can't afford to buy those trucks of natural gas, India or China will come along and snap them right up.
So basically the Bank of England are jerks. Anyway, that was the cost of living. How are you guys bearing up?